Hello and welcome to Business Standard Chessboard. Today is Friday, April 5, 2024. My name is Ankur Bhardwaj and I have been joined by my colleague Archis Mohan. Welcome to the Chessboard podcast, Archis. Well, we are well and truly in the middle of the election season. Not a single vote has been cast yet, but every day we hear news about parties releasing their manifestos, announcing their candidate lists and whatnot. Even Election Commission sending complaints from various parties to each other. Well, today the Congress party released its manifesto. Yesterday the CPM had released its manifesto. And there could not be a better point to start than the Congress manifesto today, Archis.
Yes, true.
What stood out for you? First points.
Yes. So what stood out for me, Congress has been talking about its guarantees, 5 guarantees in total, and then by extension 25 guarantees. But the manifesto is less social justice oriented than the one that the Congress presented in 2019. And why I say this is there was greater stress in the previous manifesto on generating, for example, jobs through government sectors, in panchayats. In the current manifesto, the Congress is seeming to be trusting the private sector more, promising, for example, employment-linked incentives to private sector if they were to generate jobs. And in a departure of sorts, and since we have known the Congress position, particularly during the UPA 1 and UPA 2 on mining, the current manifesto talks about responsible mining, but 5% of the GDP to be contributed from the mining sector and 1.5 crore jobs to be generated from mining sector. So these are some of the departures from the 2019 manifesto. But true, for example, the Nyaya scheme of 2019 has been repackaged. In 2019, they promised 72,000 rupees per annum to 20% of the poorest families. This time, it's been increased to rupees 1 lakh, and it's been rechristened as Mahalakshmi scheme. So there are similarities, but there are departures as well.
So basically, you're saying that it's not as much focused on social justice as it was in 2019. But my point is that this is still a social justice manifesto.
I would agree.
So, for example, if we were to talk about the main points in the manifesto today, I can say the socio-economic and caste census and strengthening affirmative action being one. Then they talk about raising the reservation ceiling beyond 50% for SC, ST and OBC, which is a fairly controversial one in politics in general. Then there is the idea about 50% jobs in the center for women, being reserved for women. Then there is talk about 10% quota for economically weaker sections. Basically, it's fairly social justice heavy. And then there is also talk about allowing common civil unions between people of the same gender. Basically, the LGBTQ community has been, it's been a long-standing demand from the community. The courts did not allow it, but the party says it will allow it. So basically, the centerpiece of this manifesto might not be as social justice heavy as 2019 was, but it's still trying to counter Hindutva nationalism with social justice.
Yes. So social justice, as you elaborated, is very much the heart of the manifesto. And there is also a significant section on federalism. So there's a proposal that some of the subjects which are currently in the concurrent list will be taken from the concurrent list and will remain exclusively in the state list of the Constitution. There is a proposal to review the devolution formula.
That's very tricky, actually. That's a very interesting point that they mentioned in the manifesto. Basically, there has been a lot of anxiety in southern states. A lot of experts have written about it. That they feel that they're paying a lot more taxes, but the money is flowing to the Hindi heartland, basically Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand, right? Now they're saying that we will reward demographic performance and basically ask the Finance Commission to consider demographic performance.
So it's also, interestingly, since Congress has been performing better electorally in the south than in the north, I think it makes political sense as well.
It makes political sense. Maybe it makes a lot more federalism related sense as well, if I were to use that phrase. Clunky, but what do we do? It also interestingly talks about not giving up on EVMs, but trust but verify. It's that old American phrase.
So, Ankur, there's been an interesting debate within the Congress, and there is one significant section which says, bring back ballot paper. There's another section which argues that given the weakness of the Congress organization at the current juncture, they have the capability to, deploy, let's say, 10 polling booth workers on each polling booth to prevent the kind of malpractices that existed or prevailed before the introduction of the EVMs in the Indian democratic setup. So I think this is the balanced middle path.
Well, the current Congress is not really the party of strongmen, is it? In any case,
So I think this is also enlightened self-interest, not discarding EVMs, trying to embrace EVMs, but trying some reform within the system rather than going back to ballot, because that comes with its own pitfalls.
another thing that even our paper has written about earlier, that the party promises in its manifesto to states is that it will end the cess raj of the BJP NDA government under Modi, where the government doesn't have to share in the revenues that it gets out of by imposing different kinds of cesses on products and services, etc. Again, possibly trying to see that there is a kind of an opening between the states and the center. But another important thing that the Congress has been talking up ever since the scheme was announced, they're promising that they will scrap Agnipath, the recruitment scheme, the kind of short-term recruitment that the government launched for the armed forces. The Congress gained big time when it opposed Agnipath in Himachal Pradesh. It became a big issue. Now we all know that Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, Rajasthan, and Himachal Pradesh send a lot of people to the forces, and this is also the belt where we see a lot of farm unrest, particularly in Punjab, Haryana, and West UP. So there is this promise of legal guarantee for MSP, and there is the promise that the party will scrap Agnipath. Do you think this can be a potent combo in these states, in northern areas where the Congress has been weak in the last 10 years?
On both the issue of Agnipath as well as restoring the old pension scheme, I think Congress did create some buzz in states such as Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, even Gujarat and Rajasthan. It may not have necessarily led to suitable electoral outcomes, but I would believe that there is a strong buzz and prospects to work on these issues, and at least try and persuade or attract younger people, the youth, towards the Congress or its ideology on livelihood issues. And I believe that's the Congress strategy. And I don't think it's the short-term strategy. They are not looking merely at 2024. We all know that 2024 seems a bit of a foregone conclusion. The question is how much seats BJP gains or loses from whatever it was at in 2019. This is the Congress's investment for the future, for the battles that lie ahead. And as you rightly said, there has been some anger. And we saw protests in 2022 when Agnipath scheme was announced, was launched. And not just domestic ramifications. The Agnipath scheme also has international ramifications, ramifications regarding our neighborly relations with some of our immediate neighbors.
An interesting point that the Congress manifesto says is that it will give stable personal income tax regime. What exactly does that mean?
I think what it means is they will not change the current slabs of income tax.
So basically, they will not reward you with tax cuts.
Yes, I would imagine that is what.
That's not something that the middle classes or the upper middle classes might actually like.
But again, the counterpoint there is, the challenge right now is to create jobs, and reducing or increasing income tax slabs comes second. Since there are no jobs, and as during the press conference also, Mr. P. Chidambaram mentioned, he also pointed out about the recent data from IITs, how the number of jobs for IIT graduates have decreased. So I would think the current
Fair enough. Well, in the first term of the uh, Modi government introduced the land acquisition bill, and it withdrew it later on after massive protests. In the second term, it introduced the farm bills. It withdrew them after massive protests. The farmers were standing at Delhi's doorstep for a long period of time. Agnipath is also fairly unpopular at this point in time, it seems, especially in the belt where, which send a lot of young boys to the forces. Maybe the government will take heed of these election results, and what are the chances of it taking a relook at this scheme.
so you know what we know from the last 10 years, the Bharatiya Janata Party government at the center and even in states has been immensely flexible when it comes to issues such as this. When it saw that there were protests against Land Acquisition Act, it dropped it, but tried to persuade states to undertake those reforms. Similarly, when there were protests against the farm laws, it withdrew those laws. Uh, and similarly, when it saw that there is some traction to the Congress's demand for restoring old pension scheme, it constituted a committee to look at the demand. So I would believe the BJP would and has a tremendous feedback system. BJP, if there were protests, if there was
OPS isn't a major part of this manifesto.
the manifesto does not mention OPS. And the argument that's been given by the drafters of this manifesto is that since we raised that demand, after which the government heeded it and constituted the committee, we do not see the rationale in continuing to demand that.
Right. Well, let's hope this Nyay Patra can give the Congress party maybe a better return than the 2019 manifesto did. But talking about the Congress party, the party has faced massive exodus in the recent times, in the last month or so. We've seen boxer Vijender Singh leaving. We've seen spokespersons like Gaurav Vallabh leaving. Earlier, we had Ashok Chavan in Maharashtra who left the party. Uh, what exactly is going on? I mean, the party seems to be hemorrhaging people at this point.
Look, a party in power can accommodate a leader's concerns, give them responsibilities, probably send them to Rajya Sabha if they've lost Lok Sabha. But a party out of power, not just at the center but in most of the states, cannot offer any such
Inducements?
any such perks to their first rung, second rung leadership. And some of these are career politicians. Probably they are struggling to survive as politicians and they are looking at greener pastures.
There are media reports we've seen where they've been found, and they found that out of 25 people, 23 were facing the stick instead of the carrot. So maybe that was a bit of a reason that they moved out of the party.
So I think there have been several reasons. One of that is that the past cases may have goaded some of these people to join the ranks of the ruling party. But then there are other cases as well. For example, spokesperson Gaurav Vallabh, he contested at least 2 elections
And lost.
and lost, and now he decides to join the BJP. So I really do not understand what happened. Mr. Vallabh says that it was Congress's position on Sanatan Dharma, Congress's position on the consecration, the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Mandir. Probably he believes it's a strong case to leave a party that's not ideologically consistent with his beliefs.
Staying on the Congress, I know it's becoming a Congress show today, but still, the party has been having trouble even in the city of Mumbai, India's financial capital. Sanjay Nirupam was expelled from the party a day before yesterday. In his press conference yesterday, he also spoke about some kind of dysfunction in the party, about various power centers. Now, this has been something that a lot of congressmen, disgruntled congressmen, you could say, or people who leave the party talk about the party being beset by too many, besieged by too many power centers. Uh, is there some truth to it, or is this just disgruntlement talking?
So again, there could be two arguments to this. One argument which people in the top leadership of the Congress say is that if you would want to leave the party when the party is not doing well, then obviously you're not ideologically committed enough to the party, and it's better that you leave since you are not going to be, truly in solidarity with the battles that lie ahead. But the other point, I'll come back to my previous observation. For example, Milind Devra, he left and joined Eknath Shinde-led Shiv Sena. Milind Devra was a two-term MP. His father was a Congress loyalist.
He was even a minister, I believe.
He was a minister, union minister. So the party, I would believe, gave him enough opportunities. And then he decides to quit the party at a time when the party couldn't have given him. It's possible that he could have been accommodated as a Rajya Sabha member, but he didn't wait until the time that Rajya Sabha nominations happened. So,
Playing the devil's advocate here, Sanjay Nirupam's point is, if you give up 5 seats in Mumbai, then what is the city union going to do? There is some truth to that, right?
I would believe that's a fair point. That definitely is a fair point. In fact, the contradiction in the Congress strategy is kind of exposed in Rajasthan. Before the Rajasthan December assembly elections, there were arguments within the Congress and by well-wishers of the Congress that the Congress should accommodate some of the smaller parties. For example, Bharat Adivasi Party, for example, Hanuman Beniwal-led Rashtriya Loktantrik Party, or even the left, Communist Party of India Marxist, in Sikar. The Congress didn't do that. However, come Lok Sabha elections, and the Congress, after having lost Rajasthan, is willing to do that in Rajasthan. CPM will contest Sikar, Hanuman Beniwal will contest Nagaur, and there is talk that the Congress might even support a candidate from BAP, the tribal party. So yes, there is definitely what Mr. Nirupam is saying has some grain of truth. However, I think the Congress target right now is to dent the BJP rather than to form the government. The Congress's best case scenario, and that I know from within the Congress, is to ensure that the BJP loses as many seats as it can. I don't think anyone in the Congress believes that they can displace the BJP with a coalition that Congress would lead of the India bloc. The best case scenario right now is to ensure that
But it's going to contest the fewest number of seats ever.
It's probably will contest 300 or 310 seats. It has already announced 236 seats. It is yet to announce seats in Haryana, in Punjab, some seats in Delhi, some seats in Andhra, which come to 70 to 80 seats. Orissa, some seats in Maharashtra as well.
Some people may not remember, but exactly 40 years ago, it won more than 400 seats. And it's now going to contest fewer seats than that.
So in 2014, it I think contested something like 421 seats, and 2019 a similar number. And as you rightly said, in 1984-85, it won 414 seats, the highest ever in
inflation. But it's not all bad news for the Congress party, it seems. There seems to be some positive news coming out of Telangana, where the Bharat Rashtriya Raksha Samiti, BRS, which had been in power for a decade now, till now, seems to be in some sort of a meltdown. What actually is going on in the state?
So BRS is seemingly imploding. And not just to the Congress, it's losing its sitting MPs to the BJP as well. At least half a dozen sitting MPs have deserted the BRS. And this comes after the BRS losing the assembly elections in Telangana in December 2023. So I would believe that, progressively, space for the third pole in Telangana politics could shrink. And it's also good news for the Congress because, for example, in 2004, a sizable number of seats for the Congress had come from the undivided Andhra Pradesh.
Right.
And that had helped Congress emerge as the single largest party. However, after the division of Andhra, the Congress faced reverses.
In both the side, on both the states.
In both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So for Congress to consolidate and come back to regain its strength in Telangana is good news, probably even for Congress's prospects in Andhra Pradesh, where I hear the new leadership under Vice Sharmila Reddy is trying to give a better fight than what the Congress posed in 2019.
So would it be fair to say that the blunders that the party may have made in 2013-14 when it divided Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and the current Andhra Pradesh, that blunder may be getting reversed now?
So I think there are signs that the Congress rank and file, the Congress organization is still vigorous. It's still vibrant in Telangana. I would imagine once Congress starts doing well in Andhra, one would see some green shoots for the party there as well.
Well, fair point. But it's not all good news for the BJP as well, or maybe you can say it's a problem of riches. The BJP has been facing some sort of a rebellion in Gujarat and also facing some sort of dissension in the ranks in Karnataka.
So in Gujarat, for example, sorry, there have been protests against sitting candidates, sitting MPs, particularly in Vadodara. And in another seat, the BJP has had to change a
People
candidate.
have actually come to blows at some places.
And in Rajkot as well. But to extrapolate and suggest that this is any sign of the diminishing popularity of either Prime Minister Narendra Modi or Home Minister Amit Shah, I think that would be
No,
incorrect.
it might be the exact opposite actually.
These are local phenomena of workers being upset with the conduct or lack of concern that sitting MPs or the candidates showed for them, showed for accommodating their interests. So I would imagine these are local phenomena. Yes, there have been protests.
One interesting data point to add to this is that more than 1/4 of the BJP's candidates who have been announced so far, 28% to be precise, are basically people who have joined from other parties, mostly the Congress party, who've been MPs from other parties. This is likely to cause heartburn in the old BJP worker,
So if you would remember, there was data from Association of Democratic Reforms over the last, at least from 2014 onwards till about 21-22, over 400 legislators, current and former MLAs from other parties have joined the BJP. And this trend has been continuing for some time now. If you would look at the 2022 Gujarat Assembly elections, a sizable number of Congress MLAs, and Congress had performed really well in 2017.
Yes.
Now, a sizable number of Congress MLAs joined the BJP and contested on the BJP ticket. It also meant that the BJP discarding its old-timers, its sitting MLAs, and getting Congress MLAs to contest. And obviously, on seats that the BJP had lost, it imported Congress MLAs. So the factor became winnability. And yes, there was some heartburn. But then, who could argue against such a massive win of over 156?
But then, for an old party which considers its cadre to be its strength, this could be, difficult in the long run.
BJP is going through a change, a transition. The BJP leadership in states, and I would imagine even at the center after 2024, Lok Sabha elections are over, would see younger leadership, younger MPs. Several of the older MPs have either been asked not to contest or may not be given prominent positions. So that transition is already taking place within the BJP, even if that would mean that BJP gets winnable candidates from outside.
Well, in any case, this promises to be a really interesting election. Well, thank you, Archis, for joining.
Thanks, Ankur.
And hope to see you again next week.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us.